And welcome, Dr. Slaton Live, the brain's body, the ultimate experience. And so we're about to turn the corner because we want to get more in depth into what we mean by reflective thinking. Because in order for you to understand what I'm talking about when I say storytelling, you have to be able to reflect back to understand that the story that you're trying to articulate is the unspoken one. So I work with children and parents in crises. And the crisis is that the parent exposed the child to drugs while in utero. And the hidden subject matter is the fact that no one talks about this. So it's the hidden crises that's permeating throughout America, where we're looking at young people and people in their 40s now that were exposed to drugs while they were in utero, and they had a difficult time with contact interaction moving through homeschool neighborhoods when they were younger. And as they aged into the crises, things began to change. Their processing capacities began to decline because their states of mind, resistance to processing certain stimuli, caused them to withdraw and isolate because their brain just didn't seem to do that type of work at the level that they needed it to work through. And therefore, you isolate withdrawal because you don't understand. Why can't you do that? You were able to do things when you were younger, but as you age into the crises, you begin to have difficulty with the social academic transformation. I'm talking about the social modeling transferring to the school and academics, the mechanics of understanding noises, signs, sounds, and symbols, and being able to translate them into brain talk versus your inner voice. That's what reflective storytelling is talking about. And so getting to the essence of it is what I'm trying to do. So when you turn to the channel, that's what we're talking about. And the experience of your brain's body is the ultimate because you are experiencing your sensory seed path functions resonating or rising above the crisis self to move information through the experience to a knowledge base where you become more aware of what happened, why it continues to keep happening, because you're practicing sensory seed path processing with Dr. Slaton Live. And so that's what we're talking about. And so I want to pause for a second and let you catch your breath. Drug-related disorders we're talking about today.
Pain, hurt, sadness, withdrawals, contact. Isolates, interaction, easily frustrated, disappointed. Easily hostile from lack of ability to perform. Prenatal drug exposure, PDE, is known to affect fetal brain development with documented long-term consequences. Most studies of PDE effects on the brain are based on animal models. Consistently, adverse effects of PDE on developmental outcomes in different domains, including learning, memory, attention, emotion regulation, and executive functions are frequently reported. Ross, Graham, Money, Stanwood, 2015. However, human studies on the brain basis of PDE effects are scarce and most existing ones focus on later developmental periods, thus are often complicated by other adverse postnatal risk factors accompanying PDE. Crandall et al., 2007. Rin, Malanga, Tabit, Kosofsky, 2004. The Danny, 2002. Thompson, Levitt, Stanwood, 2009. Tronic, Beagley, 1999.
So we're talking about drug use among pregnant women is on the rise. Now, I was doing this back in, my first book was released in 2009, so a lot of this information was coming to the surface, but we're talking about the 1970s, 1980s. We're talking about the 1960s, where drugs began to permeate the Black communities across the country. Russia said we're under attack because we're going to be crushed from the inside out. We're talking about drug, utilization of drugs to contaminate our family, education, government, and business systems. Do your own research, okay? This is 1981. What am I talking about? I just got in the Marine Corps. I'm shocked by what I'm looking at. People I knew and loved on drugs. I knew the drugs were coming, But at that point, they were everywhere. And now I'm looking at children whom are just out at the park, playing and no shoes, hungry, no supervision, and then I'm looking at the news reports, children being left on doorstops, hospitals, and so forth and so on. We're talking about America's drug epidemic and what it's done to the fabric of family dynamics when you think about, well, I didn't know because nobody told me that my parents were using and abusing drugs while I was in utero, but here I am, and I cannot get past the glass ceiling. And it's not because someone's holding me back, it's because I just can't do that type of performing because my sense of receive path just shuts down because the anger, fear, and anxiety is a part of my mood state. And I can't shake that mood state because of what I think I'm experiencing when I don't know how to move through the interaction of brain processing of the social stimuli so that you can begin to understand the environments that you're moving through. Capitalism is about understanding the environment and being able to capture space, occupy space, move to the next space. But when you cannot sustain growth cycles because you cannot reflect because of the pain, hurt, and sadness, you don't want to understand the consequences. You can't go through a competitive system without understanding self-critique, and the critique of others is good for you understanding how to move through the crises and go to the next level. The inspiration, where does it come from? Your understanding how to look back, how to reflect. What's your story? What is your story? That's what we're talking about. So when I get to talking about and talking like this, we're talking about the pain, hurt, and sadness. Withdraws from contact, isolates from interaction, easily frustrated from lack of capacity to cooperate, easily disappointed from lack of ability to participate, easily hostile from lack of ability to perform. Now take a look around when you were coming through or where you are right now. How frequently did you see these behaviors? That's what we're talking about today. And so when I get like this, it's because I've been doing this work. And I call it human systems research because it's a study of self. So I looked at me first. That's why in all my literature, you'll see I'm not isolating my experience from your experience because I'm in the world too. So I'm experiencing these things too. So I'm a testimonial to what I'm talking to you about. But then other people in the environment is what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. How to live in a home, how to learn in school, how to think in the how to respond in the workplace, knowing that you were probably upset before the breath of life. And then at the breath of life, the emotion was overwhelming and it never calmed down. So here you are, and you have these emotions that you have yet to come to terms with because you didn't know. But now I'm telling you what you need to know so you can begin to settle down and begin to look within yourself, self-learn, to understand what happened. And what happened continues to be happening because you won't settle down and begin to become more aware of who and what you have become through the Christ itself, and then begin to understand, look at your children, and then begin to see the dynamics of the crises unfolding, okay, that we're talking through. So I'm saying to you, what does it look like? What were you doing? The story you can't hide from. The one mothers and teachers, fathers are all reluctant to talk about. Prenatal drug abuse that affects brain, body, and sense messaging when a child is born into the crisis of self. This is why what happened to him or her may appear less clear. You need to be able to reflect on the experience of what early childhood was like.
Dr. Christopher K. Slaton, the host of Dr. Slaton Live: The Brain's Body, The Ultimate Experience new book ranks number 2 on Amazon's bestsellers list. Join in the excitement. Order your copy now. Do not fall behind. Discover your inner voice. Learn how your brain talks back through your sense of feel for self. Learn how to get out of your own way. Learn how to manage emotions and control thoughts by improving how you sense and receive energy, action, and feelings.